Hello, and welcome back to Horizons Gaming. My name is Ben, and today we're going to continue on with Suzerain. So last time out, I decided to get rid of conscription, and we also got a report on the current state of our economy. And I definitely have a feeling something went wrong somewhere, because I never got the option to negotiate with Volgsen on a treaty. So that could be a problem. Hopefully something pops up soon, but I don't think so. I think something happened there. But either way, we're going to head to Deer here for budget allocation for healthcare. I was having my afternoon tea in my office and going through newspapers. One of the headlines piqued my interest. It read, Polio Crisis in Valen. Before I could start reading, I heard a couple knocks. Pascal entered, followed by Lucien.
Mr. President, it's time for the scheduled healthcare meeting.
Good afternoon. Please, take your seats. They've taken their seats. Pascal produced documents from a suitcase. He put them on the table. Pascal looked at the newspaper I was reading. Very troubling news from Valen, Mr. President. I have just returned from a meeting with our top scientists on the matter of polio. It seems to be spreading. Indeed, this might have dire consequences in the region. He nodded. What I was told by our researchers was that with the current infection rate, there will soon be millions of people affected by polio. So we have notified all of our healthcare staff, especially the ones close to the Valen border. Unfortunately, these are also the more rural areas where we lack equipment and staff. We need to be ready for any possibility.
I doubt it's that serious yet. Regardless, back to something with Spinnywool.
Pascal put on his reading glasses and went through the documents. He didn't say anything for a whole minute.
Mr. Spinnywool?
Yes, of course. Let's start. He put the papers down, cleared his throat, and looked at me. In general, I am very content with the budget decision that was made. This comes as no surprise, as I know you are a man of your word. The overall mood has been positive as the administration focuses more on their healthcare, and I'm excited about what we can achieve with the allocated funds. Providing better healthcare is our goal. This administration will be known to have supported the welfare services. I'm personally invested to solve the whole infant maternal rate, death rates, along with your requests. As you know, I've been preparing a new privatization program that will create funds through selling off unused ministry property and some extra taxes.
I know this too, Pascal, but this goes against our economic doctrine. Additionally, health is a key sector people expect to have in public hands. Aside from creating additional funds, there's a long-term problem with privatization in a country like Solent.
You're right, there might be structural issues, especially due to private greed and market manipulation.
Also in a country where most people don't have access to quality healthcare.
I do agree that there's some concern there, but the benefits of competitive and quality services is greater.
This is not a cause you're talking about Solden, which healthcare is free for now. We have people who have their lives depending on the services free to them. Messing with that structure will definitely hurt us politically in the future, that I know for sure. The choice is yours, Mr. President.
Nah, we'll keep healthcare in state control. Don't allow any private involvement that can endanger core services. As you wish, the health services shall remain in public hands.
Good choice.
Now, let's get to the big question of how we'll spend the extra funds dedicated to the Ministry of Health. Well, what are your suggestions? We have three options to use the majority of our funds on. We can build new hospitals where needed, we can spend money on increasing salaries for health workers, or we can spend money to improve existing treatment in rural areas. Let's go with that one. Improving treatment in rural areas is a must to prevent mistreatment, disease, and sickness. Our rural clinics are old, ill-equipped, and understaffed, which causes a huge urban and rural disparity. It is one of the causes of maternal deaths and other sicknesses which I want to solve within this term.
Reports have shown that minor epidemics are spreading in certain areas, due to old facilities with a lack of hygiene equipment.
I believe improving treatment in rural areas should be our focus, Mr. President.
It would be best to consider the political advantages of each one, as well as the practical advantages, before making a decision.
A few minutes went by in contemplation as the moment to make a decision came near. Let's see here. Pretty sure improving rural treatment is going to be the best option here. So, improve rural treatment by hiring health staff and upgrading equipment in rural areas. New contracts for improvements will be drawn up immediately. That is all then.
Very well. Fruitful meeting nevertheless. Nice and short.
Just the way I like it. Pascal gathered his documents and left along with Lucien. Sweet. Alright. Looks like we got a few things popping up here. Let's check the country overview. So welfare, we've got quality rural health services as a green thing, so that's pretty sweet. Journal's probably just saying, yep, Kept healthcare in state control, improved rural healthcare. Alright, looks like we've just got two reports and 2 newspapers. So let's check out the news first. Alright, from the Radical, Isheval Erison has rights. The troubling, justified case of Isheval Erison is making its way from the lower courts to the Ministry of Justice, and by order to the Supreme Court thereafter. The systematic racism felt around the country seems to know no limits, especially when it comes to the largest minority of our nation. The truth is that the situation is very bleak, and the British people demand their long-awaited rights. The Constitution protects the individual rights on paper, but those who uphold and enforce the law pay little attention to such legalities. It gets even worse when justified legal cases like these are made and appealed to the Supreme Court. The general outcome is always depressingly unjust. Fortunately, nobody expects otherwise in this case either. And Politica, thousands protest the new governor of Helluland. Thousands in Helluland took to the streets to protest the Agnolian government's increasing control over Helluland's administration following the appointment of a new governor. Demonstrators protest the Agnolian government's decision to appoint a governor from the Agnolian mainland without holding any local elections on the island. Loxani leader Chancellor Hagel was quick to condemn the decision. The majority of the residents on the island still claim Volg heritage or Volgsanian ancestry. Experts say that increasing tensions between Agnolian Volks have prompted the Agnolian authorities to make this decision, with an aim to increase their control over the island. Cool. Alright, let's check out a border report from Valen. Chief of the Armed Forces, Vulcan Kruger, reported that the Vasic Armed Forces are moving north towards the town of Vernon. On their way, many British villages were assaulted, and the initial reports indicate a high death toll. As they're approaching closer to the border, a Vasic army's movement will be observed closely. Many displaced refugees from the battles have been seen moving towards the Sortish border. They have been turned around forcefully to ensure the complete defense of the border. Yeah, I still feel kind of bad about that one, but we didn't have too much of a choice. Alright, and from Dear Urson B. Swordlin. Landmark court filing has been appealed to the Court of Appeals today and is under review by the Minister of Justice. The lawyer and British civil rights activist Isheval Erison sued the Dear municipality led by Felix Braun for the infringement of the constitutional rights of equality before the law. The case questions the separate legal treatment of the British and Dear, and by extension the whole of Bergia. I mean, they shouldn't get separate legal treatment. That's kind of messed up. Alright, so I guess let's head to Holsword to talk with Franz Richter. Alright, preparations for the new constitution were nearly complete. Soon we're going to propose it in the Grand National Assembly, a huge step for our administration. But we desperately needed more support. That's why I'd invited Franz Richter for a chat about the upcoming vote. He and his party held the key to our success. We met in the presidential office at the end of the day. He arrived in his signature navy blue suit and handed me a box of famous Circassian chocolates before settling down on the couch. It's good to have you here, Mr. Richter. Likewise, it's nice to finally have some time to talk. He took a folder from his briefcase and flipped it open. I could see the scribbles he'd made in the margins of my draft proposal. I have to say, I am really surprised by this proposal you prepared for the new constitution. I really do not understand your reasoning behind some of the changes. What parts don't you understand? I don't know where to begin. You're not reforming the presidential decree process. This was not at all what we talked about. This has become the opposite of democratic. Not to mention you've ignored our demands, so the undemocratic electoral threshold. How are you calling this a democratic package? These are all necessary to maintain stability. Necessary? What kind of excuse is that, Mr. President? Are you saying this while you're begging me for my party's support? I still believe we could accomplish meaningful change together. Maybe we can. But I do not find the proposal by any means sufficient. I'm still not sure what to make of it. You're going to miss our chance for reforms just because they don't contain everything you want? You're putting all the reformists in a tough spot like this, Mr. Rain. I'm sure it was tough to persuade your party to support this proposal, but this is what happens when you expect the USP to bring change. Don't expect me to sympathize with you. Not only have you minimized the potential of the reforms, you're taking the spotlight away from PFGP members who campaigned for these reforms for years. You'd better have something else to offer. So you're looking for political gain after all. I value Soldan and democracy more than anything, Mr. President, and I also have to look out for myself and my party. Surely you understand. And if we're talking about democracy here, I first need your promise that you're not going to cast a shadow over the PFJP anymore. You'll give us proper credit and finally do something about the unbalanced representation of our party on state television. Um, I think that's okay. Yeah, the guy doesn't really have any information on the PFJP, so I don't know if I'm missing something or what, but I think it's okay. I mean, I'm just giving them some credit, so okay, sure, you can count on me. That's good to hear. Then I can say that I'll be happy to cooperate with you, Mr. President. I will hold you to your promise. And I'll hold you to yours. Was there anything else? No, Mr. Richter, thank you for coming. I'm looking forward to our cooperation. I think if I ask him about his Arcasia business, that might backfire, so we're just gonna brush it off. We shook hands. It's nice to have a president we can finally have a dialogue with. He laughed. I'll see you in the history books. Have a nice evening from now. He left the room. Alright, that seemed like a potentially small price to pay to get his support, so hopefully that's the right choice. We'll see what happens with it. Alright, doesn't look like there's any reports, just a couple newspapers. So, from Swordsland Today, Rain meets Richter. Swordsland Today has received an exclusive update about President Rain's constitutional reform process. According to our insider sources, Rain met today with PFJP head Franz Richter in an attempt to secure the party's votes in the Assembly. This meeting could be an indication that the President is truly aiming for the democratic reform as opposed to paying lip service or using the opportunity to consolidate his own power. We'll know more once the meeting results of the meeting are announced. Which they shouldn't be, but that's alright. Alright, from Lockhaven Times, Richter backs Rain's reforms. At a party conference today, the PFJP came out in support of Anton Rain's constitutional changes. Leader Franz Richter announced that the proposal President Rain submitted to them met the party's standards for democratic reform. It's time our parties stand together in order to make changes to our outdated constitution, said Richter, calling his party members to give support to the proposal. Despite a complete show of support from the PFJP members, the group's deputy chairwoman, Mrs. Suhail, protested Richter's calls for bipartisanship and blamed the party leadership for handing Swordsland to President Rain on a silver platter. She was seen leaving the meeting during Richter's speech in protest. It is unclear whether the draft that will now go before the Assembly is Rain's original one, or if it has been changed with Richter's input. It is also unclear if Mrs. Suhail's protest will gather support within the party against the proposal. What is clear is that with PFJP's votes, Rain's chances for successfully passing reforms in the Assembly just got a lot higher. Coolio. Alright. Yep, looks like we got a report here in whole sorts. Let's hit that first. PFJP Conference. At yesterday's party conference at the PFJP, Franz Richter announced he will be giving his full support to the constitutional changes proposed by the USB. He asked the members of his party to follow him in this endeavor and set aside their differences for the greater good of the country. Cool. Alright, and it's time to award the contracts for the new construction project. And obviously, we're going with the Source State Corporation. That's not even a question. We don't have money, so. Sweet. Alright. Looks like the only new thing is down here in Volgan. So let's check it out. Updates on the situation of education at the University of Volgan. After meeting with the rector and a brief tour of the University of Volgan, we gathered in a room with Ciara. The entire campus was visible from the windows. Students were reading books, studying, having picnics under the trees. It reminded me of my own time at Holsworth State University, at least more carefree moments. Reminiscing about the past? Yes, it had its ups and downs, but it was still fun. And now we're growing old and bitter. She smiled. Let's not get sidetracked. I want to start off by saying this. It was very positive to see the administration dedicate the funding that was requested. I'm making sure that the additional funds are being used in the best possible way in order to resolve structural issues. Speaking of, I want to thank you for allowing me to lead our education system in the right direction. By removing nationalist indoctrination and traditional teachings, we have unlocked the potential of the next generation. The students of now will thank us in the future, President Rain. We have unlocked the potential of critical thought in this. We've unlocked the potential of critical thought the society desperately needed. In this way, you've surpassed all leaders before you. Let's go with that. Swordsland needs visionaries like you to reform to become something better. We're on to something promising and grand, Mr. President. She nodded and brought out a stack of papers from her bag. Spinning her ballpoint pen, she went through the papers, organizing some of them together. Our ministry's prepared the necessary framework regarding how to spend our increased education budget. I've outlined 3 potential options. We can build new rural schools, improve the standards of existing ones, or increase salaries of all education workers. We have the capacity to implement only one of these options. Alright, well, tell me about the plan to build new rural schools. The issue is very critical as we're losing many young people to ignorance and illiteracy. Sortland's rural population is full of untapped potential. With enough education, these people could be an asset to our workforce and society. Look at how united Quintana is pushing past Arcasian education research. It's because most of the rural populace has access to schools. Why should we increase the salaries of education workers? The job itself should be held in higher regard and be compensated accordingly. These are people who have chosen to dedicate themselves to the betterment of others, to help raising the next generation. We ought to give them what they deserve. I mean, I won't argue that. Well, what does improving rural schools entail? Oh, where to start? At the very least, they need new equipment and materials. Many of these schools are facing a shortage of desks and textbooks. The ones that aren't haven't been updated since before this old administration. If teachers lack the resources to give Sorge people a proper education, it can be as bad as if they don't go to school at all. Cool, well, I guess I'm ready to decide. She put down the pen and looked at me. Build new rural schools. Our primary goal must be to increase access to education. It feels gratifying that we're finally serving the people directly. I'll pass it down to the ministry. That's all there is for now. I have talked with Miss Suno to schedule some time to discuss the curriculum. She's a very sweet woman, your secretary. You may want to consider promoting her. We'll meet again very soon. Sweet, keep up the good work. Sarah put the papers back in her bag and left the meeting room. Nice, alright, we're just kind of flying through stuff here. I like it. Alright, country overview. We've got accessible rural education. There's another green thing. Sweetness. Alright, looks like there's no new reports, just 2 more newspapers again. So let's go back to Holsor Post. A new mega project, Morna Port. President Rain has just announced the plans for a brand new port in Morna. As per the announcement, Sorge State Corporation has been awarded with the contract and they'll be taking over the daunting task of transforming the city. On completion, this mega project will provide a much needed boost to the trade and infrastructure, not just Morna, but the entire Lauren region. Sweet. Alright, Sorland's Day. Valen refugees fleeing to Sorge border. As Valen President Victor Smollett continues his operations against Bluish insurgents in his country, a wave of people, Vasic, Sordish, and Bluish, have been attempting to flee the conflict and cross the border into Sorland. According to the report from the Alliance of Nations, the situation inside Valen is becoming increasingly complex, with many different groups and factions entering and leaving the country. The AN report states that the international reporters are no longer being allowed inside Valen, and the information from the country has become incredibly difficult to obtain. It also explicitly warns the neighboring countries of an upcoming refugee crisis. It remains to be seen how the Raid administration will deal with the influx. Well, basically, we're not. Alright. So back to Holsor for a briefing on the current curriculum in schools. Ciara had scheduled a short meeting with the Ministry of Education to discuss the current curriculum taught in schools. The ministry building was located in the government district right next to the Ministry of Health. It was a tall, narrow, wedge-shaped, like a slightly open book. Near the front gate, there were many statues of world-renowned scientists and thinkers. The largest, of course, was Art van Einstein, the greatest scientist of all time. Above the main entrance was the familiar inscription, Instrettensis era aginicar av gerina ent ola almergvoptena ent ola maxis. Yeah, I'm never going to get that right. Education is the premise of progress in all societies and all families. Inside the building, I was greeted by Ciara's assistants. They led me to a meeting room where she was waiting inside. She stood and gripped my hand. Good afternoon, Mr. President. Good afternoon, Ciara. I'll cut straight to the chase. Our progressive reform of the Sorland education system is well underway, but there's one sticking point. It involves evolution versus creationism. As it currently stands, schools across Sorland can decide whether to include evolution, creationism, or both in their curriculum. Rural schools often decide in favor of creationism only, which puts students at a disadvantage when it comes to entering university. The effect is especially noticeable among young women. My suggestion is to make the teaching of evolution mandatory and preferably ban creationism altogether. Yeah, I don't agree with teaching our children supernatural nonsense like creationism. That's great to hear. It sounds like we're already aligned on the matter. Lucy and Galad knocked in at her.
Excuse me, some urgent business kept me away.
Welcome, Mr. Galad.
Mr. President, Miss Waldo.
We were just discussing the curriculum. Ciara's made some excellent points.
Very well, let's hear them.
Continuing from my previous point, it is my conviction that we should require the mandatory teaching of evolution in Sorland's public schools and cut creationism completely out. We want children from rural areas to have the same opportunities as their urban counterparts. This is the way. Opening students' minds and reducing the role of religion in schools will also lead to more equality between young men and women. And I won't argue any of that, but apparently Lucien will.
Miss Walder, don't you bring your pet cause into this. Mr. President, there are other considerations you may not have thought about. Although I myself believe in evolution, we must be careful not to alienate our rural conservative voter base. We owe a lot to their support. Forcing our school districts to teach evolution could irreparably damage our standing with them.
Every modern nation is reducing and removing creationism in the curriculum. Yet we're supposed to allow schools to promote fundamental and, yes, sexist ideas from 1,000 years back? It's a lot further back than that.
So is that what we're doing now, copying what other nations are doing instead of paving our own way?
If it works, why not? Look at the analysis. It's clear the superpower is doing something right. Should we reinvent the wheel, Mr. Galati? Speaks if we don't import any influences from other countries.
That's not what I said.
Their voices started to get louder and louder. I held up my hands for silence. Yeah, evolution's the way forward. Creation has been no place in the public school curriculum. Thank you. As I said, it's the only way to produce a new generation of thinkers.
There are other methods to bring a Suzerain forward, ones that don't sever our ties with an entire voter base.
Sarah looked me in the eye. It's your decision. Don't forget, future generations have so issued the counting menu. Nah, screw it. From now on, creationism shall be banned and only evolution will be taught in schools. Excellent decision, Mr. Bain.
As your chief strategist, my job is to advise you on the political landscape, but I can guarantee you that this won't do us well.
Sometimes there are more important things, Mr. Collard, like ideals. They turned to look at each other. Lucien lifted his eyebrow, and Ciara held his gaze for a couple seconds. The meeting ended shortly after. Cool. I didn't see anything about that in the guide either. So I figure since we're putting an emphasis on better education, that sounds like the smartest way to go. Like, actually teach kids something useful. But, alright. Let's see here. We've got Lauren and island economy stabilizing in our economy overview, so that's pretty good. Let's see, wow, we've got 7 newspapers and it looks like 3 reports. Let's do the reports first, why not? Alright, from Deer, the Governor of Berger reports results. The Governor of Berger reports that the investment provided by the government has been put into use via various programs for new companies and technology fairs in Deer. The opportunities led to an increase in overall entrepreneurship in the region and revitalized the economy of Berger, further increasing trade with nearby countries and regions. Cool. Alright, and Volgan, economic report. As the economy stagnates, Volgan is reporting a slight dip in employment rates, as well as a shuttering of some small businesses. However, most large corporations remain unaffected, and several of the city's big agricultural concerns are reporting growth. Cool. Alright, Benfie, head of the Teachers Association of Sorlin, resigns. After the implementation of the new curriculum which banned creationism from schools, head of the Teachers Association of Sorlin, along with 8 out of 12 members, have resigned in protest. Following suit, teachers and principals from various schools in Benfie have also left the jobs. Approximately 1,600 teaching positions are expected to be refilled in nearby regions. Cool. Alright, guess there's one down here in Valen as well. Valen operations, mixed success. Valen President Victor Smolak is drawing his operations against the British Freedom Front to a close. The consensus is that while Valen's army went a long way towards neutralizing the British threat, there are many preventable casualties. Furthermore, despite Valen's best efforts, not all hideouts have been eradicated, and anti-Smolak sentiment is at an all-time high among the remaining insurgents. Now, you think? Alright. So it looks like whatever's going on in Holsford is all that's left, so let's see if there's a report here too. Alright, we've got 2 more reports here. Alright, language bill prepared by Casario. Casario Keemer is preparing a bill which aims to unify Swordfish education by making Swordfish the only language accepted in educational institutions, excluding specific foreign language studies. That's some nice racism there. And Secret State Police investigation update. Secret State Police have completed preliminary investigations to members of the political opposition. No concrete proof of corruption or other wrongdoings has as yet been revealed. Cool. Alright, we'll come back to the other thing in a minute, but let's check out the newspapers. We've got 7 of them here. Jeez. Alright, the first 4 all from the Holsford Post. We've got nationalize the Big 4 now. As the debate about privatization versus nationalization intensifies in the capital, the Holsford Post firmly believes that President Rain should come down on the side of nationalization for all the so-called Big 4 companies, including the currently fully private Heart of Sorlin and Burgess Steel. Full nationalization would prevent price gouging and prevent CEOs like Marcel Cronty from consolidating power, but even the government taking minority ownership of both companies would go a long way towards ensuring they act according to state interests. And overblown rights case appealed. Today, the politically motivated and controversial court case by Ishval Ersin has made its way to the Supreme Court to be reviewed. Mayor of Deer, Felix Braun, has dismissed the presence of systemic racism in the region of Berja and accusations against law enforcement, citing that the British are being influenced by the British Freedom Front, who wishes to radicalize the people for their dark aims. All eyes are now on Chief Justice Hawker in the Supreme Court to determine if the case has legal grounds or not. Many justices have already come forward to dispute the claim that the Constitution is not being upheld by the state of Sortland when it comes to the treatment of the British people. Interesting, alright. And Kassara raises the British question. Yesterday in the Grand National Assembly, NFP leader Kassara Keebner proposed a law that would make Sordish the only language accepted in educational institutions, boldly standing up for Sordish culture and tradition. This law, the Unified Education Language Act, is squarely aimed at the British community, whose integration in Sordish society has long posed a problem. Educating children solely in the official language of this country will help cement their Sordish identity and quash the threat of British independence in Sortland, said Keebner in his speech in the Assembly. Alright, apparently that's a bold move by just being a racist piece of crap, but alright. Anyway, last one from here, we've got Deer prepares for the Day of Dissension. The city of Deer is preparing for the Day of Dissension, the annual celebration of the founding of Nerdy. Though religion plays a smaller role in Sordish daily life than in years past, the day still holds special importance for many Nurse, thousands of whom have already begun undertaking the pilgrimage to the tomb of St. Dast. The cathedral in which it is located, Deer's Arch Sanctuary, is currently undergoing renovations set to be completed in time for the festivities. In accordance with presidential tradition, Anton Rain will be making an appearance at the event. Cool. Alright, then we've got two of them here from Sortland today. Privatization, the future of Sortland. Don't let the pro-government elites fool you. Nationalization of Sortland's big four corporations would be a disaster for our country. Instead, we advocate for the privatization of state-owned enterprises, Netamining a Source State Corporation. Both companies have grown sluggish from lack of competition. Even private interests taking a minority stake could lead to greater innovation and a brighter future. And evolution. Get used to it or get out of the way. After meeting in the Maroon Palace, President Raid made the tough but wise decision to scrub creationism off Sordish schools' chalkboards and force the teaching of evolution instead. This should help silence critics of Sortland's education system, who have long argued that the students here have yet to catch up with the counterparts in Akaja and United Kantana. We look forward to seeing what other education reforms the Rain administration has in store. Sweet. And from the radical, big win for science as Rain forces schools to evolve. Perhaps swayed by the valid arguments of Education Minister Ciara Walda, President Rain made the decision to ban the teaching of creationism in public schools, make evolution mandatory, or a mandatory part of the curriculum. This switch is a huge step forward for Sortland's rural youth, who have long been at an educational disadvantage compared to their urban counterparts, and a welcome display of clear-headedness from the Rain administration. Sweetness. Alright. And in Whole Sword, we're going back here to lobby the Assembly. Chief Strategist Lucien Galatas prepared a well-planned lobbying effort in Parliament, which would specifically sway on the fence MPs for the upcoming constitutional vote. The plan includes lavish parties, gifts, even some political favors. Should we have a plan? Yes, we're going to spend all of our money, because that's the whole reason why we took the bribes and stuff earlier. Cool. Alright, and if that is the end of the churn, that should be the end of the chapter as well. Which means, yeah, I must have screwed up somewhere because we did not get an option to negotiate with Volksland. So that is not cool, but not really anything we can do about it at this point. But, yeah, whatever. Anyway, that feels like as good a place as any to go and call it for today. So, as always, thank you very much for watching. I hope to see you all next time.